Hello and welcome back once again to Movie Reviews. So, next movie up on the list was one that I planned to see originally a week ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago now. That would be Boxtrolls. It was actually second on the list of movies I want to see, but again, everything's playing in reverse order, so this was the only way I could see more than one in the day, other than having to wait like 5 hours between, which I wasn't going to do. So we went to see Boxtrolls. What to say about Boxtrolls? More or less, it's a movie about hats, cheese, and boxes. Really not much else to say about it. That's what it's about. So it starts off with this guy running through the streets saying that the evil Boxtrolls have kidnapped this guy's baby. And at first I was confused on who the kid's father was supposed to be, because he runs to this house and I thought he said that the Boxtrolls have taken your child, but maybe he didn't. Maybe I was confused about that. And the guy's just kind of like, oh, well, we'll deal with it in the morning. I was like, what? Yeah. And then this guy's like, well, if they're willing to take our children, what's to stop them from taking our cheese? And he's like, no, not the cheese, because apparently this town is like a cheese town. I don't know. He goes, call the exterminator. And he's like, well, I am the exterminator. He goes, then I'll make you a deal. I'll get rid of every Boxtroll in town, but you have to award me with a white hat, because for some reason the aristocratic people of this town wear white hats, and then like the upper middle class, middle class, wear red hats, and then like the Boxtrolls are basically like trolls, which would kind of represent the poor people of town, I guess, because I don't really see any poor people. It's just like lower, middle class to lower middle class, but no one's like dirt poor. But then you have the Boxtrolls that live underground, so that I guess boxes would be the equivalent of lower class to poverty. Because they're kind of like, they go out at night and they steal stuff out of people's trash and take it back to their underground cave, and then they like build stuff out of it and run their whole community and everything. So it's kind of a social structure there, but he's like, I want a white hat. And, he's kind of like iffy about it, because to get a white hat you have to be really something, or as the one guy says, or just be rich. That's how I got mine. So he makes him the deal, and like 10 years go by, and so then we're introduced to another child, which is a older girl, probably, I want to say they're about 12 years old at this point, and we find out that she's the daughter of the guy with the white hat, who at first I was confused thinking it was the baby who got kidnapped's father, but turns out later it wasn't. So at first, like, as they're becoming, like, so the girl wants to talk to her father about something, and he obviously doesn't pay attention to anything but cheese and adults that talk to him. So she's trying to tell him at one point that she saw Boxtrolls outside, and there was a boy with them. And he's kind of like, oh, don't bother me. And he had got a stain or something on his hat, so he goes, here, take my hat to be washed, or something like that. So she goes, yeah, I'll wash your hat, and she throws it out the window. Well, then she feels bad about it, so then she's going to go outside, but there's a curfew in effect where everyone has to stay inside at night and bolt your doors, otherwise the Boxtrolls will steal you and eat you and all this stuff. But she has to get back her father's white hat. So she goes outside to try and get it, and meets the boy, who's the baby who was kidnapped. Now he's grown up. He was raised by the Boxtrolls. He thinks he is a Boxtroll. Whatever. So they meet, and as the movie progresses, they start to develop like this little love interest in each other. And at first I'm like, wait, isn't that her brother? So it was like really weird. And then as the movie progressed, I realized, no, it was... the guy with the white hat wasn't his father. He was like the town magistrate or something. That's why the guy ran there to tell him that the baby had been stolen. I must have just misheard him when he said that they had stolen his baby, because it wasn't his baby. So, at first I thought they were brother and sister, but then they weren't. So, the exterminators are going around rounding up the Boxtrolls. It's the one main guy, and then, like, he has 3 underlings. One of them's, on the same page as him. The other 2 think that they're the good guys, and they're doing something good for the community by rounding up these monsters that are killing people. So they think they're the good guys this whole time, but as the movie progresses, they start to realize that, maybe we're not good guys, maybe we're just lackeys or henchmen or stooges or whatever. So, but one of them's into it, the other 2 aren't, so their thing slowly starts to develop to where, are we the bad guys here, type of thing. So then, we go more into the story of the boy getting to know the girl. We find out the girl's pretty much a goddamn psycho. Because at first she's, like, talking to the boy, and she's, like, saying something about when the trolls steal children to eat. Or she's like, well, what happened to your family? Did they eat your family? Did they make... Or she says something like, did they let you watch? And then she goes, I mean, make you watch? And it's like... Yeah, she's just really interested in, like, the concept of the trolls eating people. She's... Yeah, even her father thinks it's weird because she's talking to him about something and mentions something similar. And he's like, oh my, he's like, just go away, type of thing. Like, yeah, the girl's a little bit insane. She kind of mellows out as the movie progresses. It was just a weird thing to have in the beginning of getting to know her because then she, like, totally turns around. And, yeah. So then, everything progresses, and all the Boxtrolls end up getting captured, and it's up to the boy and the girl to go rescue the Boxtrolls before they're exterminated. And, of course, it comes down to one of the situations where the girl's father learns his lesson and starts listening to what she's saying and realizes that she was telling the truth the whole time. One of those basic... father learns a lesson type of things that are in kids' movies nowadays. There was a bit of a twist at one point, but I kind of called it right from the beginning. I was like, it has to do with a character and another character being in cahoots with each other. I'll put it that way. And at first, when you first see the character, I was just like, I think there's something going on with this character, because they're pushing this character into the story too hard, and it's kind of obvious they're going to be somehow involved on the other end, and it was. I'm not going to say how. You'll figure that out when you watch it. But yeah, it was kind of predictable on that aspect. But yeah, eventually they save all the Boxtrolls. Everyone learns their lesson that the Boxtrolls aren't monsters. The exterminator guy was, because he wanted his white hat. You find out the backstory of why the trolls kidnapped the child in the first place. Again, not going to spoil that. But more or less, everything resolves and everyone lives happily ever after. So, that's pretty much Boxtrolls. There was a nice little bit, like, the credits roll a little bit, and then it cuts back to the 2 henchmen that were kind of like, we're the good guys, and they started to realize they were the bad guys, but at the end they turned around and were like, no, we don't want to be bad guys, we want to be the good guys, and started helping out. But then, I guess after, I forget how long it said it went by, maybe like 6 months or something, they had been basically assigned the jobs as street sweepers in the town. After the credits roll for a bit, it cuts back to them sweeping the streets, and they start talking about philosophies of life and stuff. And he's like, well, what if, our world is just a speck in another person's world, and me blinking is someone making me blink? And then it's like, as they're going in real time, you start seeing this flash of a body, like a human body moving around. You're like, what's going on? And then as it pans back, it's basically showing you the set, the tabletop set, and the person moving the clay for each shot. So you see like this ghosted image of the animator like running through in high speed while the movie continues to play at normal speed, which I thought was a cute little nod. I was like, oh wow, that's kind of interesting that they are actually showing, how long of a process it actually is and how much work actually goes into it, but making sort of a joke about it. But yeah, that was a nice little stinger after the short credits. Then it goes into the long credits, and that was it. At least I think I had to leave because my other movie was getting ready to start. But yeah, so that was it for Boxtrolls. Again, for a kids movie, it has its predictabilities, but overall I enjoyed it. It was a fun little movie to watch. So as far as a star rating, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say a 3.5 on this one. Like I said, it was a kids movie, so it does have its predictability and basic outcomes. Hits all the tropes, I guess. But yeah, it's still a cute movie to watch. It was fun and enjoyable. Yeah. So 3.5. So yeah, that's about it for Boxtrolls. Got one more movie to do tonight, so I will be back shortly with that review. Until then, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of Movie Reviews.